Nagito, how's it going? How you doing? Nice. Good stuff. Justin, how's it going, man? How you doing? Stuff on a pizza. Good. Dr. Z, York, how's it going, guys? How you guys doing? Case 40. 6-pack. Is there another one here? Trunk, mountain, core. Just resting before I have to go back to the suffering that's called. When's your exam, Nagito? No, Dr. Z. Yeah, let me know how you liked it. It was a first run, so I'm sure. So we both had our share of technical difficulties and such. But I think it went pretty good. Alright, we'll start in 5 minutes. What is this? Next week? Oh, come. Alright, well, good luck. I'm sure you'll do fine. Don't stress too much about it. What is the fuck's sake? I watched like 15 minutes? Oh, okay. Let me know how you like it if you get a second to watch more in the Discord. Yes, Arabic is, I've heard, very hard. I have no personal experience, but I studied for 2 years. Wow. Torso, core. Good lord. The problem is that getting a good grade. I'm almost sure I can pass even without studying. Ah, I see. I was in my final exams this semester, so I couldn't care less about the grades. I just need, as long as I got above a 60, I could not care less. Oh my god, I'm so horrendous at this. The pronunciations are a nightmare. Well, hopefully it's not an oral exam, so the pronunciation won't matter. If it's I had an oral exam for Spanish back in high school. My god, that was miserably bad. Queen, how's it going? How you doing today? I constantly feel like bleed. No mods are online right now. So, I think Milos said he should be on in a little bit, so all good. Plus, you have the final boss, which in this scenario is me, so it's all good anyway. Do I know about the Arabic poets? Not too many. I know the only one I can think of off the top of my head is Rumi, I believe was his name. Rumi? Yes, that's right. Yeah. Top of my head. I'm supposed to read their words. It looks too small and unreadable for me. Chapter 225, Unnoticeable Guidance. Klein backed away from the fork in the path without touching Zariel's corpse. Suddenly, sound echoed in the distance through the empty sewers. Klein listened for a few seconds before decisively retreating towards the exit, down the dirty concrete road that ran along both sides of the sewage channel. There was no need to take risks in the matter that didn't involve him. Klein closed the iron manhole cover after he climbed out of the sewers. After ensuring that the surrounding area looked normal, he returned to his rented room in the East Borough and changed out of his disguise. Then he put on his gold-rimmed glasses, walked to another street, took a rented carriage, and returned to Sherwood Borough. Music is too loud? Interesting. I think it's the same as normal. Oh, it's like another. That might be too quiet now, but if that's the case, we'll deal with that a little later. Yeah, let me know if it's too loud, or if it's too quiet now, and then I can adjust it a little bit more. Devil, you feeling a little better, man? Then he put on his gold-rimmed glasses, walked to another street, took a rented carriage, and returned to Sherwood Borough in the silence and coldness of 3 in the morning. However, he didn't return to Minsk Street. Then Klein made another huge detour only after confirming that no one was following him. Did he enter his house? He slept till dawn and was awoken by a doorbell. He sat up immediately, put on his shirt, buttoned his vest, and hurried down to the first floor to open the door. And even before that, his premonition ability as a clown was already capable of naturally forming the image of the outsider in his mind. The visitor was wearing an old coat, brown hat, and tethered satchel. He had bright red eyes, a delicate face, and a quiet temperament. Bright red eyes? Whoa. It was none other than Ian. Good morning, Detective Moriarty. Any progress? Yeah, I'm only asking because I happen to pass by. Yes. Ian didn't say a word for a while. Have you determined Mr. Zariel's corpse? Or Mr. Zariel's condition? Yes. Klein paused for a moment, then said seriously, I found his corpse. Corpse? Ian's pupil shrank back as he repeated in a low tone. He wasn't too surprised, as if he was already expecting the worst outcome. Klein watched silently without interjecting. Ian sighed and wearily surveyed his surroundings. Your efficiency is amazing. Can you take me to see Mr. Zariel's body? No problem. In fact, that's what I was planning to do. I hope you won't make mention of me when you call the police. Just say you found the corpse yourself. I believe you know how to make up a reason. Ian wasn't surprised. He knew that not every detective liked to deal with the police. In fact, except for the very famous ones who often gave advice to the police with mutual cooperation, the rest were discriminated against, ostracized, and even extorted from. All right, Ian agreed readily. Considering that they were entering the sewers, Klein changed into a set of clothes worn by common working class, put on a deer hunting cap, and took a lantern with him. Both of them took the public carriage to the East Borough, then walked for half an hour to reach the remote sewer entrance. How did you find it? Ian asked, half surprised, half curious. Klein focused on the area beneath him and answered casually. Skillful training, which includes many techniques in reasoning, investigation, tracking, and interrogation. Ian followed him into the sewers. He nodded without looking disgusted. I have a feeling Zariel's corpse is gone. You seem to have received very professional training. Klein didn't answer him directly. He held the already lit lantern in front and led Ian to the fork in the path where they arrived in the gloomy corner. He narrowed his eyes as he approached. More of Zariel's body was now missing. Nah, it's still here. Never mind. Compared to the previous night. He was missing an arm and half his ribs. That's not something a rat can do, Klein muttered to himself. With the help of the lantern's light, Ian was able to clearly see the corpse's appearance. He squatted down and suddenly vomited, and gradually vomited yellow-green bile. Klein took out the Kulog's oil he prepared, unscrewed the cap, and bent over to place the mouth close to Ian's nose. His eyes lit up and he calmed down. Thank you, he weakly whispered. I can confirm this is Detective Zariel. My condolences. I suggest you call the police, Klein replied. Okay. At that moment, Klein clapped his hands. This is the end of my mission. As for what should be done after this, that is up to you. Ian fell silent for a few seconds. I still owe you 3 matters. You can tell me now. Actually, I can only think of one at the moment. I want to know where I can get a gun and bullets without needing a full class weapons permit. Ian spoke almost without thinking. Go to Braveheart Bar at Iron Gate Street in the Backland Bridge District. Find Casper's Callanan. Tell him old geezer introduced you. Alright, let's talk about the other 2 matters in the future. I have a feeling we'll meet again. Ian gave him a look but didn't say anything. The two split up and headed down different paths in East Borough. The secluded spot once again regained its silence. After walking for a while, Klein suddenly turned the corner and retraced his steps. He then hid himself in the secluded corner, peeking at the entrance to the sewer. After waiting for 2 or 3 minutes, he saw Ian return silently as he looked around warily. Klein withdrew his gaze in a timely manner. He leaned his back against the wall and listened. He heard the scraping sounds of the manhole cover being removed and heard someone climbing down. Carefully poking his head, Klein discovered Ian had re-entered the sewers. Was there a clue or something on Zuriel's body? This matter clearly goes deeper than it seems. After satiating his curiosity, Klein decided to leave for real and head out to see Casper's 2 days later. At tea time, Viscount Glane was in his home, situated in the Empress Borough. The door to the right was tightly shut, separating the 4 people inside from the participating guests in the saloon outside. Gio, Fours, this is the reward the 2 of you deserve. Dressed in a pale yellow lace dress, Audrey pushed a bulging envelope across the desk as the 2 ladies sitting opposite her. Gio wanted to say something polite, but her hand reached out for the envelope faster than her mouth. Feeling the weight of the money, she could only say sincerely, "Thank you, Miss Audrey, for your generosity. Your honesty makes you look even more beautiful." Okay, alright, enough with the flattering. As she spoke, she untied the thin strings around the envelope and saw the bills inside. It was uniform grey paper with black strips. The stack was thick and exuded a smell of special ink, one that left one surprisingly refreshed. £10. Gio took out one note and checked its face value. Beside her, Fours, who appeared lazy and unbothered by money, had also leaned over. This is at least... She couldn't help but exchange look with Fours and saw the surprise in each other's eyes. This was a lot more than they imagined. A total of £800. Decide how you'll split it amongst yourselves. I'm very sorry that this matter placed you in danger. £800? There's no need to apologize. 800, Jesus. Even if we had to do it again and knew the possible consequences, we would still accept. Even if it's divided evenly with my savings, it's enough to buy the potion formula for Sheriff. Gio, who was slightly taller than £150, stared blankly at the notes, wishing she could pull them all out and count them over and over again. She believed that the generous and beautiful Miss Audrey wouldn't pay them any less. But what if she made a mistake counting? Everyone makes mistakes. Gio raised her right hand and paused for a few seconds before silently lowering it. The corner of Four's mouth couldn't help but rise as she wistfully said, "This is even more than the royalties I've received for Stormwind Mountain Villa so far. Should I praise Miss Audrey or laugh at the poverty of an author?" she added silently. Viscount Glane, who was sitting on the sofa, was also a little envious, but it wasn't directed at Gio or Fours. As a Viscount who was in fairly good financial situation, £800 wasn't a large sum. What he envied was Audrey's ability to hand out money without feeling any burden. Viscount Glane cleared his throat. "If you can get the formula for apothecary, I can also provide you a substantial payment." "We'll do our best," Gio added. Then she looked at Audrey. "We've recently come into contact with someone who's suspected to be from the psychology alchemists, and we'll soon have clues regarding the spectator potion you're looking for. I'm already at sequence 8, far stronger than you. Gio. I'm already at a sequence 8, far stronger than you," Audrey smiled in a reserved manner. "I'm looking forward to it." Alright, she became a sequence 8 like yesterday, and she's like, "Oh, you're only at a sequence 9. Oh, you are weak." Damn. With that said, the 4 began chatting. Oh, can someone confirm if you guys can hear the music or if it's too quiet now? maybe that'll be too loud. I don't know. We'll see. With that said, the four began chatting about various rumors among the Beyonder circles while following Audrey's example of finding books they wished to read. Suddenly, Gio's eyes lit up as they saw two hardcover books: History of Lone Kingdom's Aristocracy and A Study of Coat of Arms. Meanwhile, Forrest found books that interested her: Geography and People of the Faceac Empire and Traveling the Northern Kingdom. Honorable Viscount Glane, may I borrow these two books? I'll return them soon, Gio looked pleadingly. No problem. This level is fine. Okay. Audrey is way too childish, maybe. I would like her more, but for me, she never beats Forrest. I'm trying to watch you and... But now... yeah. Thanks for popping Bibles, I appreciate it. Sorry for the predicament to put you in. At his response, Forrest had hurriedly made a request as well and simply obtained his approval. The corner of Audrey's mouth curved into a faint smile as she witnessed all of this. She looked modestly to her side, pretending to read a book. While doing my gotcha games, so won't chat much. No worries, Justin. You're good. What are you playing? Sorry, I'm going to bug you before I let you get back to it. As a qualified spectator who had just advanced, she had accurately grasped Gio and Forrest's preferences in certain domains after being in contact with them multiple times. Thus, she had made arrangements in advance without anyone realizing it. Letting the one being guided feels like it was done out of their own will was a manifestation of the power of a spectator. In the evening, Gio was curled up on the sofa in front of her fireplace, reading the history of the Lone Kingdom's aristocracy. Oh, she must have hid something in the books. That's what she means, like, by letting them do letting them think that they're choosing their own fate. I see. Forrest had gone for a gathering meant for authors. After reading for quite a while, Gio felt something strange about the hardbook cover, so she carefully examined it and found an interlayer where an ancient piece of paper was hidden inside. The front side of the paper was covered in special symbols created by Emperor Roselle, and on the back was a paragraph written in ancient Hermes. Viscount Glane's ancestors deciphered some of Roselle's special symbols? She struggled to decipher. Thanks, Easy. I appreciate it, bud. No worries. She struggled to decipher the ancient Hermes as she muttered silently. The fool that doesn't belong to this era, the mysterious ruler above the grey fog, the king of yellow and black who wields good luck. Sherwood Borough, 15 Minsk Street. A satiated Klein sat in a reclining chair in the living room, besides a fireplace burning with charcoal. Oh, so she's gonna inadvertently pray to him. I see. And then the fool can check out the new members and stuff. I see. In a warm environment akin to summer, Klein wore a white shirt, black vest, and thin trousers, having a newspaper spread open in front of him as he flipped through the section with the most ads. A new type of transportation vehicle is in urgent need of investments. Details to be discussed in person. Klein reads the advertisement twice before picking up a pencil from a small dark red table to his side and circled the message. If there were no commissions tomorrow or the day after, he planned on seeing if the so-called new type of transportation vehicle had any investment value. Such matters were impossible to divine since there was a lack of information. I hope it's a product similar to a bicycle. Wait, bicycles don't exist? No. They have trains. Or is it... There's no shot. Bicycles don't exist? Who is it? Miss Justice? Klein mumbled to himself before suddenly hearing an illusory prayer echo in his ears. Who is it? Miss Justice? The Hanged Man or the Sun? Or some clerk at Backland Bank trying to copy my passcode? Thoughts flashed through Klein's mind as he put down his newspaper, returned to his bedroom, and locked the door behind him. Okay, Nagato, in fairness, I didn't spoil anything for Easy, okay? I told him of a thing he had forgotten. That is hardly grounds for spoilers, okay? Feels a little unfair. Taking 4 steps counterclockwise, he entered the world above the grey fog. He saw that to the side of the fool's seat, and by the edge of the ancient model table, was a clear and bright brilliance that emitted waves of radiance. The experienced Klein calmly sat down and emanated his spirituality, touching the light ripples of light in response to his prayer. Easy almost spoke. I think he was about to say something that I didn't know, but then everyone was shitting on me for saying the name of volume 2. So yes, the scene in front of his eyes suddenly changed. It was a blurry sofa with a petite woman in a night trainee's uniform curled up on it. She's not copying my password, she's reading a piece of paper, Klein suddenly realized. She should be one of the 2 Beyonders that Miss Justice mentioned. After nearly 20 seconds of silence, Klein didn't give any form of formal response. He planned on taking the next steps deep at night, and then he would test her reaction, attitude, and her way of handling things to test her personality and abilities. Of course, he would not want to force others to join the Tarot Club. I only remind people and make directional questions. Both of you are getting a trial? Okay, alright. Yeah, but in this case, there's nothing spoilery for either of us, so we get to be the judges, and I think I know the result of that trial, Devil. Justin, apparently trains did not come before bicycles? Oh, sorry, wait, apparently trains did come before bicycles? What? No, stop. Holy shit, you were right. Like 13 or 14 years ago. Whoa, interesting. That's a cool piece of trivia, Justin. Thank you. The fool that doesn't belong to this era. Gio, who had just finished chanting the ancient Hermes, froze for a few seconds, then suddenly straightened her back and sat up in horror. This seems to be the honorary name of a hidden existence. She realized the horror. Furthermore, her knowledge in mysticism and various rumors told her that once someone recites the full name of an honorary hidden existence, it would often attract the attention of said existence. The consequences of such attention was mostly misfortune or could even be described as tragic. Quite a few of those hidden beings were the incantations of evil gods and devils. I'm so dumb. I recited an ancient Hermes completely unprotected. Why did I focus so much on the effort of identifying the sentence and actually read it in my head? Gio looked around in horror, terrified that an indescribable monster would appear in her house. The sofa, table, cupboard, dining chairs, oil paintings, and other items reflected in her eyes without changes. After nearly a minute of heightened vigilance, Gio relaxed. Don't worry. Don't be afraid. I just had the honorary name and didn't follow up. This is an incomplete ceremony, so shouldn't attract any attention. Moreover, there's a good chance that the name might have been translated by the owners based on a special symbol left behind by Emperor Zell. It may not even be correct. But I heard that if gods and devils generate interest, they would still provide a response even if the ceremony is incomplete. I'm so stupid, really. As she thought over the matter, Gio scrunched her face in grimace. After a few more minutes, she slowly exhaled and puffed out her cheeks when she realized there was no obvious response. She stuffed a piece of paper back into the history of the Lone Kingdom's aristocracy. As she entered the bathroom with a heavy heart, she turned on the faucet and tried to use the cold water to clear her face. As nearly transparent water flowed down, Gio hunched her back and reached out her palms to cup some water. Bro, she's like 4'10". She doesn't need to bend down to get to the sink. She's at the sink. What are we talking about? Just as she was about to dab the cold water onto her face, she spotted a long, slightly curly brown hair in the mirror through the corner of her eye. As for her, she stood shoulder length, unkempt yellow hair. Suddenly, Gio's hair stood on end. She stomped on the ground with a push of her hands, shot back up, turning her body halfway around and slamming into the entity with her elbow. Of course, trains came earlier, because without sufficient wood quality, they could only be used by a real athlete? Maybe. Like, I mean, I know, I'm sure riding a bike on like unpaved surface is obviously harder, but like not that much harder. Like a normal person could do it. The whole hype for train is how they don't need a road and a track is enough, which is way easier than making a road. Fair. She leaned against a warm body, causing the other party to let out a familiar scream before falling to the ground. Gio stopped any subsequent action and took a good look at her friend who was hugging her stomach in pain, tears in her eyes. Forrest, when did you get back? Forrest didn't reply immediately. It took her quite a while to get over the pain. I just got back. Gio, are you nuts? Why did you attack me without even looking? And you hit me so hard. Where did you come from? Gio asked. Through the bathroom window. Why? Is there a problem? As an apprentice, it's normal not to bring a key with me. Gio straightened her back and pushed away all the responsibility. Then why didn't you go through the door? You just gave me a big fright. If that's the case, I'll have to make one big round. That's too troublesome. I'm used to walking in a straight line. But wasn't your reaction a bit much? It's because I made a mistake. A fatal mistake, Gio said. What mistake? Forrest replied. Gio hurriedly recounted the whole story of how she discovered the interlayer of the book's cover and found an old piece of paper in it. Then she casually recited the name of the suspected incantation in Hermes silently. And what she recited seemed to contain the honorable name of a hidden existence. Where's your brain? It should be fine. The ceremony wasn't complete. And who knows if it's real or fake? Forrest looked around and for some baffling reason felt a chill. She followed Gio back to the living room and saw the yellow sheet of paper, as well as Roselle's special symbols and the sentence on the back. After a quick glance, Forrest, the professional researcher in mysticism, nodded. It's not any of the evil gods, devils, or secret existences I know of. It should be fine. Furthermore, nothing happened till now. That means everything should be fine. Of course, if something were really to happen, there's no way we could rescue ourselves with our meager abilities. Forrest added. Gio's face paled as she blurted out, Forrest, let's sleep together tonight. Forget it. I'll just sleep on my own. Alright. In fact, you don't have to worry. Think about it. I hear strange murmurs whenever there's a full moon, but don't see any signs of me going mad or crazy. Well, we should study the other 3 books. If there's the same piece of paper and incantation, it means that it's very likely a prank from the Viscount. The duo hurriedly flipped through the study of coat of arms and the other books and checked them carefully, but didn't find anything. Gio looked at Forrest, who looked back at her, turning the mood somber again. Should we sneak into St. Selena's Cathedral tonight? St. Samuel's Cathedral nave tonight. Gio came up with an inspired suggestion that was one of the headquarters of the Church of the Evernight Goddess, Backland Diocese. Why not St. Hireland Cathedral? I don't think the Evernight Goddess will protect me, Forrest subconsciously replied. Does Forrest believe in a different, god? Oh, that was the god of, that was the headquarters of the Church of Steam and Machinery. Adjacent, interesting. Which was located in the St. George Borough, adjacent to many huge factories in the southeast. So she believes in the god of machinery and steam? The 2 ladies with different faiths fell silent, and after a while they sighed. And that would make us end up being targeted by the Nighthawks or the Hive Mind. That might be the goal of the hidden existence. Alright, let's go to sleep. We'll know the answer by the morning. If nothing happens, that means it'll really be okay. In the middle of the night, the waxing crimson moon was obscured by the clouds, and the stars were barely visible above Backland. Klein instinctually woke up, lifted his blanket, got off the bed, and entered the world above the grey fog. He sat down on the chair that belonged to the fool and planned on responding to Miss Justice's companion to proceed with the examination process. Ooh, I wonder if they join. It would lead to more inter-tarot club dynamics, because then people who know each other are in the club, but only one side knows that they know the other, which is a confusing sentence to say, but I think you guys get it. At At that moment, he suddenly had a new idea. Perhaps he could try and see if he could pull her into the world above the grey fog under the present circumstances. The young lady must have fallen asleep. Even if I do succeed, she'd probably treat it as a dream that appears clearer than usual. If I succeed, I can sever the connection in a timely manner to prevent her from seeing her surroundings clearly. After repeatedly deliberating over the matter, Klein stretched out his hand, tapped the rippling ring of light to form a connection. Suddenly, Klein felt his spirituality surge out in an unstoppable manner, causing the mysterious space above the grey fog to tremble slightly. That's weird, eh? The mysterious fog trembled. The only time we saw this before was when he looked into the soul of EBS. So this must be like an event. Just when Klein thought his spirituality had been completely drained, everything calmed down. A blurry, distorted figure appeared at the edge of the bronze table. In her reverie, Gio opened her eyes sleepily and saw the endless fog, the high chair, and the dark figure. Klein was overjoyed and immediately severed the connection according to his plan. The hazy, petite figure disappeared, but within the grayish-white mist, a crimson, illusory star appeared. Klein looked at the scene and confirmed one thing. As long as someone chanted his name, he would be able to pull that person into the world above the grey fog. The crimson star was a symbol of a stable connection. But there are certain limitations. With my current strength, I can only establish another connection. Based on my previous experiences, my current spirituality can only pull in beyonders who are a sequence higher than me, and it won't necessarily be a success. Hey, thanks for popping by. How you doing? It's just a preliminary judgment, so it shouldn't be a problem if someone's at the same sequence or lower, Klein thought. There's no need for him to respond. His attempt was already enough. Gio sat up in her sleep. She'd been worried about some potential danger of chanting an honorary name the entire time. Not long after she fell asleep, she entered a mysterious space, and a foggy figure appeared from above. But the dream was so clear that Gio felt afraid. She looked at the sleeping forest beside her and thought with a tremble, is it a nightmare caused by fears or because of the attention I garnered? Yeah, there's going to be a gathering of Beyonders tomorrow. In addition to buying myself a formula, I need to find a person who's good at exorcising evil spirits to purify myself. There's no evil spirits here, just an evil scammer. You're fine. Oh, good lord. Sitting at the dining table of a foggy morning, Klein brought up his specially bought wheat bread and soaked it in milk, improving the way he ate it. Although his body had changed a long time ago, his pursuit and obsession with delicacies were engraved into his soul. He was completely unable to adapt to the Lone Kingdom's monotonous and repetitive style of breakfast. He could only try his best at experimenting. He tried not to limit himself to toast, bacon, bread, sausage, and butter. He tried hard to expand boundaries and improve the way he ate. For example, his recipes had new additions, such as pork filled with pastries from the south, vena potter noodles, and roasted corn pastries. Corn pastries? Interesting. Caviar from the Fasak Empire isn't, Oh, no worries, Romero. I hope everything's okay, man. Yeah, all good. Caviar from the Fasak Empire isn't bad either, but it's too expensive. It's only suitable for formal meals. I'm hungry hearing this. Yeah, you and me both, man. Klein scooped up a small piece of wheat bread he had softened in his mouth, chewing it little by little. He could feel the intertwining flavors of the milk and the fragrance of the wheat. The aftertaste of the bread was even sweeter. After breakfast, Klein put down his cutlery, but he was in no hurry to tidy up the table. He picked up his newspaper and began to read. I'll do a divination in a little while. If there's nothing to do, I'll pay Mr. Leopard a visit and see if the new transportation vehicle is worth investing in. I shan't be hungry. If Milos needs help, I can be a mod. I think we'll be okay now, Nagito. Backland really is big. Every borough is almost the size of Tingen, and the East Borough is especially ridiculous. It's at least twice the size. The easiest and most economical way to travel is walk, followed by steam metro, before walking again. It's quite a waste of time. Backland's public horse carriage was rather similar to Tingen's. The price was about the same. The only problem was most of them were confined to a single borough. If one wanted to go from Sherwood to St. George, a few transfers would be needed that would naturally raise the price. Such a situation made the prospect of a new transportation vehicle very alluring. At that moment, knocks on the door sounded. It was as loud as the pounding of a hammer. "Who is it? Don't they know how to open a door?" He muttered a few words. Walked to the door and pulled it open. In front of him was a familiar face. It was the Highlander man who had chased Ian to the metro. His skin was dark, his eye sockets recessed. He was a lean and hardy man. According to Klein's mediumship ritual, he was Merceau, an executioner of the Zmongu gang, and almost equal to the boss. "Excuse me, who are you looking for? Do you have a commission to entrust me with?" Merceau was wearing a black coat and pompous silk hat, but he didn't look anything like a gentleman. "Are you Detective Sherlock Moriarty?" "Yes," Klein replied. "I want to hire you to find someone." "We can talk about it inside." Klein prevented himself from acting in an odd way. "There's no need." After saying that, his eyes suddenly sharpened. "The person I'm looking for is called Ian. Ian Wright. He has a pair of bright red eyes, 15, maybe 16. He likes to wear a brown old coat and a round hat of the same color. I believe you know him." I don't know what you're talking about." "He's a thief who stole an important item from me. If you can find him, you'll be paid at least £10. "You've provided too few clues." 30 rounds. Merceau made a new offer. "No, this is against my principle of confidentiality." £50. "Dude, take it. Take the offer." "I'm sorry, I can't accept the mission." Klein was startled for 2 seconds, but in the end chose to reject. Merceau studied him slowly for a few seconds as his eyes slowly turned cold and fierce. He didn't offer a new price, but he did politely bid farewell. He turned around and walked abruptly to the end of the street. "The gang has pretty good intelligence. They actually know that Ian came to me once." Klein ain't no snitch, clearly. Yeah, good for him. Klein secretly sighed, full of emotion, but he didn't feel too much fear or anxiety. After all, I'm someone who faced the son of an evil god, even though it was separated by a belly, he thought. His smile became brilliant after flipping a coin whether to decide he was going out today. The answer was positive. St. George Borough, 3rd Street. After transferring from a tracked public carriage to the steam metro before transferring to the trackless carriage, he arrived at his destination, spending a total of 11 pence. That's like half a solai. That's not much. Just after he alighted the carriage, he discovered a drizzle had already started, but he hadn't brought an umbrella. According to the newspapers and magazines, this is a daily occurrence in Backland. The reason why hats are popular is that ladies and gentlemen don't carry umbrellas all the time. Klein pressed down on his top hat and briskly walked inside the Unit 9 and used the eaves to shield himself from the rain. Eaves. Do we know what these are? Oh, like the edges of roofs that overhang over the wall. I see. He brushed off the obvious water droplets on his body and rang the doorbell, but he didn't hear any cuckoo sounds or tinkling sounds. Is the doorbell broken? He was about to raise his hand to knock when he heard footsteps coming. The image of the person naturally appeared in his mind. It was a tall, thin man with black hair and blue eyes. He was in his 30s and dressed in grayish-blue worker's attire. He appeared gentle and refined. The door opened. "May I know who you're looking for?" "Is there something?" Klein took off his hat and bowed slightly. "I'm here to find Mr. Leopard. I'm interested in his new transportation vehicle." "I'm Leopard. Please, come in." He turned to the side and allowed Klein to enter. However, there was no coat rack in the foyer. Klein only leaned on his cane and did not take off his coat. He followed Leopard into the living room. Leopard is fine. It had to be said that the gentleman's house was very messy. On the coffee table in the living room alone were mechanical objects. Could this guy be like a... Would it be an apprentice that's good at making shit? Isn't that the one that Emperor Roselle had? I think... Oh, savant, sorry. No. But savant just gives you knowledge of chemistry, and that's fucking useless. No. No, never mind. How much do you wish to yes, on the coffee table in the living room were many mechanical objects, such as wrenches, bearings, and screwdrivers. Thank you, Dr. Z. Nightwalker, how's it going? About a half hour, not too much at all, no. How much do you wish to invest? Right, would you like some coffee or black tea? Actually, it seems I'm out of black tea. The gentleman's quite straightforward and doesn't seem to be good at interpersonal relationships. I have to see your new transportation vehicle before I make a decision. I can't make any promises without understanding. As he spoke, he looked around and saw a triangular sacred emblem, the symbol of the god of steam and machinery. The solid triangle was filled with symbols such as steam, gears, and levers. Leopard wasn't irritated by Klein's straightforwardness. He immediately said, "I'll show you." As soon as he said that, he slapped his head. I almost forgot. You have to sign an NDA to make sure you don't steal my invention. Mr. Leopard, you don't have a very good memory either. That won't be an issue. After signing the simple contract, Leopard led Klein into a room that seemed like an activity room. He had knocked through the neighboring guest room and basement, making it much wider and spacious. The room was littered with components, and a rough object that was the height of a man that resembled a carriage stood in the corner. In addition to that, the rough object the height of a man? What? In addition to that, the line of doorbells was connected and was cleverly constructed. As long as someone pulled on the rope, a steel ball would pop out from the mechanism, allowing it to roll along a special track before colliding with an object in the center to produce a clanging sound. The sound wasn't too loud, but it was enough for Leopard. It was enough to rouse Leopard, who was engrossed in machinery. Is this the new form of transportation you invented? Yes, I based it on Emperor Roselle's imagination. Emperor Roselle's imagination? He doesn't have any imagination, okay? He's just straight up stealing shit. Emperor Roselle left behind a number of manuscripts in which he drew the vision of machines in the future. He was an outstanding genius. No, a master. Many things have already been turned into reality. This manuscript is kept in the Church of God of Steam and Machinery. There's no way for non-pious believers to borrow them. Emperor, are you still leaving no stones unturned for others? Describe it in detail for me. Leopard led Klein to the crude metallic object and opened the door. This is a transportation tool that doesn't need a horse. The driver sits in the front seat. Oh, he's trying to make a car. I see. I was imagining still something old worldly. Good lord. The driver sits in the front seat, continuously stepping on pedals through the levers and chains connected to the four wheels, allowing the wheels to roll forward. And on the wheels, I used inflated rubber, which can make the journey smooth. So it's a human-powered car. With such a huge carriage and at least 4 passengers, it would be impossible to travel that far just relying on human strength alone. That's exactly my next goal, to reduce the weight and expand the lever a few times. But my financial situation isn't at its best. I can't fund any more attempts. Why not consider other methods, like using steam as a driving force? There have been people who tried that, but it's a huge body, making it difficult to drive along many streets. Then why don't you just do something simpler? For example, only have 2 wheels and 1 person without an outer shell. You mean something like a bicycle? Roselle's manuscript has that? Yes. Those bicycles which involve which other people have invented aren't very practical. Simplifying this seems like it might work. It will really seem different, but who would buy it? Klein didn't hesitate to provide direction. The postman, the working class who have a bit of savings, the businessman who doesn't need to look respectable while hoping to save money. There's many in Backland. I can try, but I don't have money for spare parts. I'll invest £100. In addition to my suggestion just now, I'll take a total of... Klein hesitated to say 10%. 15% was better. After all, £100 was, strictly speaking, not much. You could have 35% of the share, but that's only limited to the bicycle concept you described. Deal. We'll draw up a simple contract and settle this matter. Afterwards, I'll find a lawyer to make a formal contract and add some detailed terms. For example, if anyone else wants to invest, they must first get my consent, etc., etc. Yeah, he isn't leaving anything, the little shit! Like, here's a car, here's a bike, here's everything. Just, I get credit for all of it. What a prick. This is how people in like 50 years are gonna think about the Simpson writers. They're gonna be like, holy shit, dude, they took everything. They just guessed everything. Holy shit. In the gloominess brought about by the drizzle, Klein returned to Cherwood Burrows, Minsk Street. He entered the house and went straight to the bathroom on the first floor, and resolved the problem of his bloated stomach. As the water echoed, Klein bent down to wash his hands. At that moment, an image appeared in his mind. The mirror in front of the sink reflected his lower head, dim surroundings, and a pair of eyes to his side. A pair of eyes. Oh, that guy from before broke in or some shit. Oh, God. The mastermind? I know it's not Inkzone Quill, because because Klein would die again. Almost instinctively, Klein bent his knees and rolled sideways. A small black feathered arrow stabbed into the wash basin. The arrow seemed to be made of bone and suffused with a black luster. It was extremely beautiful. If Klein had hesitated in any way, he definitely wouldn't have been able to escape. After rolling for a moment, he reached into his pocket and tried to pull out a few tarot cards. But at that moment, a gust of wind engulfed him. Through the corner of his eyes, he saw a black figure quickly approaching him at top speeds. It appeared in front of him in an extraordinary pose, as he tightened his foot and kicked out from bottom to top. He realized he couldn't avoid the attack. Klein quickly gave up on his previous intentions and used his elbow to block. With a bang, he felt his entire left arm go numb. This time his name will be Batman Joker. As his body was yanked over, just like in the sport squash, the middle class loved to play, or like soccer ball that was now popular among the lower class. What immense strength! Klein's heart tightened. Without being flustered, he adjusted his body midair and changed his posture. Oh, yes. Do. At this moment, a tree bark covered colored blowpipe had just landed on the floor of the bathroom and bounced behind the door at a declining speed. Just as Klein was about to stretch out his body to firmly stand and face the follow-up attack, a scene flashed before his mind. The speed of the enemy in black far exceeded his expectations, arriving even faster than he expected. He lowered his body and swung his arm, striking him in the chest. In the blink of an eye, Klein's body bent over, spinning half a circle more, like a small bat that kept falling and kept being thrown around. He stretched out his hand and pressed into the ground, opening his legs like scissors while keeping his head low. It made the black-clothed man's fist miss as it tore through the empty space. The fist that was originally aimed at his chest could only hit his legs after Klein turned his body. But his legs were opened wide. Pushing up, his legs closed in together, allowing Klein to leap nimbly to the side as he managed to stand up straight, finally. Before he had a chance to observe the enemy, the black figure had already arrived in front of him, bringing with it a strong gust of wind. What a fast reaction! Klein lifted his arms in front of him to block. Okay, so this is clearly a Beyonder, because just looking at his speed, it feels like this would be like a Beyonder level of strength. The better question is, what type of Beyonder? Something that increases physical stats, that off the top of my head looks like... that could be Assassin. Or it could also be like another one that I don't know. I don't know, the Sun Path maybe? No, I don't know. With a dull thud, he felt as though he'd collided with a black bear. Failing to withstand the immense force, he could only stagger backward as his arms almost turned numb in the process. Klein has the better user interface? In what sense? Like, just because he's way faster? Failing to withstand the immense force, he could only stagger backwards as his arms almost turned numb in the process. At the same time, he finally recognized his attacker. Dark skin, lean and hardy build. He was none other than the executioner of this Monger gang. Oh, Ultra Instinct, I see. Sorry. Merceau, the person who had come to see him in the morning. With a fierce glint in his eyes, Merceau closely pursued him after he flung both his arms, delivering a left hook and a right punch in a barrage of attacks. Music is way too loud? Really? Okay. That should be fine now. Sorry. Okay. The gap in Klein's strength and that of his opponent was obvious. He was unable to face him head-on and had to rely on his agility and premonitory senses to barely avoid the combo of punches. No, I have to make a full use of my advantages. With a similar thought, Klein stopped engaging in melee combat. He lowered his body and rolled to the side. Hopefully that's okay now. If it's still loud or too quiet or anything, let me know. A chair was torn apart by Merceau's kick. The Klein supported his body with one hand. Now it's too low. Let's try that, maybe. Klein supported his body with one hand as he exerted strength in his waist and continued rolling in a bid to seek a chance to use his tarot cards and self-made charms. Merceau caught up quickly and kicked out his legs one after another. That was in no way slower than his opponent. Whoa. He was a giant bear with the gift of agility and zero weaknesses. This made it so that the rolling Klein was capable of only capable of dodging and defending without giving him a chance to draw his cards or use charms. A chair was broken, a table turned over, a coat rack toppled, and Klein had circled most of his way around. But the situation was turning dire. I can't go on like this. He kept dodging, rolling, tumbling at every opportunity. Suddenly, he had an idea when he spotted the coffee table in the living room. Klein defended a blow with one arm as he jumped back towards the living room while enduring the pain. I guess from his punch. At this moment, Merceau's leg muscles bulged suddenly like they were inflated with air. This motherfucker's like the gum fruit where he's like inflating his arms, or like he stepped on the ground so hard that it seemed to shake, and he jumped and took a shot at Klein like a bullet with one of his legs aimed at him. Klein barely managed to hold on for a second before being sent flying again, crashing through the coffee table with a clang, sending a ceramic tea set flying towards the cupboard, scattering the round fountain pens, the contract template, and the various other newspapers. Seeing that the detective in the black double-breasted coat was weakened from the impact and momentarily unable to stand, a fierce glint flashed in Merceau's eyes. He slid forward, pushing his knee out amidst the shattering pane or the porcelain. Klein's eyes turned dark as he watched the scene. He was already holding a contract template in his hands. He had fled to the coffee table, ignoring the warnings of his premonition, solely to pick up a contract template or newspaper. When he saw Merceau's knee coming at him, Klein's wrist shook. At that moment, a scene appeared before his eyes again. A scene with Merceau's neck twisted backwards. Klein slightly pressed his wrist, shaking out the contract template in his hands. Oh, he's gonna fucking him, isn't he? Look how the Klein sequences. He's fighting someone physically stronger, but he can hold it. I wouldn't exactly consider this holding his own. He's getting his ass beat. All that being said, I get that he's the clown sequence is allowing him to at least keep up relatively on agility, so that he can keep dodging. He can't attack because he doesn't have an upper hand in agility to get out, to get ready and stuff. But what that is allowing him is the ability to constantly dodge, and now he's using his strategic mind to try to figure stuff out. I wouldn't exactly say it's like it's busted or like it's amazing. It's fine. It's giving him the ability to not fucking die. But whatever this guy has is way better. Because if this guy had if Klein had whatever this guy has and had his strategic mind, Klein would be dead by now. The contract was like a dart made of fine steel and shot at Merceau's throat. At that moment, the distance between the two of them was less than a meter. Moreover, as Merceau was closing in, the distance between them was decreasing. A white item was reflected in Merceau's eyes as he instinctively tried to dodge back to jump. The contract stabbed right in Merceau's throat, penetrating his windpipe. Blood with patches of bubbling blood gushed out of Merceau as he fell, his knees heavily hitting the ground. He pulled out the contract template and clutched his throat. However, he was unable to stop the blood from flowing out as his eyes gradually became unfocused. In the end, his body twitched a few times and he stopped moving. Clown is a sequence for longer distance combat. He had to divine before coming. Exactly, yeah, because if he's at a distance, he can use the cards and stuff to, and the danger sense is really helpful. Yeah, that's like main thing. Just imagine at higher sequence he'll get even more power. That's true. Because assuming premonition gets like better and better, he wouldn't even need to do like basic divinations in the future, right? Like he would need to do like, hey, is that is entering this building, is there a threat in that building? Because his premonition would just tell him. So like it would just avoid all that hassle. He could just like he sets up a plan, walks in front of a building and goes, okay, so there's danger. So as I enter the living room, there's going to be a guy on the right. As I go up the stairs, there's going to be two guys at the top of the stairs. Like all that stuff, right? So that'll be like handy as fuck. Klein took a moment to recover before he had the strength to turn around and stand up. He had a few tarot cards between his fingers, on guard against possible counterattacks and other enemies. After activating his spirit vision and confirming the assailant was dead, he looked around and didn't see any other auras. Only then did he relax a little. He noticed that two of the chairs was broken and the coffee table was smashed. The porcelain was strewn all over and the living room and dining room were in a mess. Lowering his head, he saw that the sleeves of his suit had been damaged and the outer layer of cloth had been stained with a great deal of dust. There's no way to claim reimbursement for this. He laughed as if he had encountered something that could amuse him for eternity. He laughed so hard that his body bent backwards and forwards to the point where only his laughter reverberated in the house. A few seconds later, he stopped smiling, walked to the corpse with a heavy expression. He wanted to make the dead man speak. He used a dream divination to say the mastermind who sent Merceau on this mission. Soon, as his eyes turned black, he entered a dream and saw a grey blur. As the grey and blurry world lit figures changed, forming numerous scenes and images around him. In front of Merceau was a middle-aged man without a hat. His white shirt had a complicated layered petal-shaped collar and cuffs, which made him look magnificent. Matched with a tight black vest and skinny trousers, he looked gaudy and exaggerated. The middle-aged man had brown hair and blue eyes, a thin face with stubble, a very good-looking man. He looked at Merceau and said, "No matter what you do, make sure you find Ian Wright alive. If he's dead, bring him to me within the hour, preferably within 15. So that's because he can also like make the spirits talk. So is he another seer or something else? What was Old Man Neil? Because he could do the same thing, right? What was Old Neil? Mystery Prior. So he could be a Mystery Prior. Music changed now? Yes. Yes, Mr. Ambassador. Merceau didn't hide his unruliness, but kept his head lowered. Mr. Ambassador? This matter actually involves other countries? I don't think he's a literal ambassador. Could Mr. Ambassador be the Mr. A that Audrey knew? Maybe. This matter actually involves more other countries. Judging by the style of his shirt, the ambassador is most likely the ambassador of the Intis Republic. Well, I guess never fucking mind. Okay. Ian's only a boy. That gentleman's able to channel spirits, or at least he has someone who can. He thought for a moment before conducting another dream divination. The reason for finding Ian Wright. In the greyish blurry dream, he once again saw the middle-aged gentleman from before. You don't need to know why, just heed my instructions. I gave you the potion and the money to become a person in power behind this Monger gang, not for you to raise questions, but for you to do things. Yes, you only need to know that Ian Wright might be involved in an item of great importance. As the scene faded away, Klein once again exited the dream. I really can't tell, Ian. What could it be? Potion. So Merceau is a Beyonder. It's no wonder his combat skills are so powerful. He should be a Beyonder adept in this field. As his thoughts crossed his mind, he felt exhausted. It seemed that responding to his own request had consumed too much of his spirituality. If he wanted to have his mediumship standard restored to what it was previously, he estimated that would only happen at sequence 7. Whoa, interesting. Finally, he saw the specks of spiritual radiance converging at the wound on his opponent's throat, slowly congealing into a piece. After carefully grabbing it, Klein pulled out a dark red object that looked like jelly from Earth. That's his Beyonder characteristic. I wonder what kind of sequence it is. That's easy to determine. I'll get the answer by doing a divination above the fog. Theoretically, the Beyonder characteristics would be able to imbue a person with the corresponding powers, even without supplementary ingredients, but one can easily lose control and go insane after consuming it. Nearly all supplementary ingredients for low sequence potions lack spirituality. Klein's thoughts ran wild before he forced himself to focus. A corpse was now in front of him. It gave him a headache thinking what to do next. Lesser of two evils. Holy shit, we just did 4 chapters in an hour. Good stuff. Oh, we're getting better. Getting better and faster. This is good. Eventually there's gonna come a day where I'm gonna do a 1-hour stream and just read 100 chapters. At my current rate of progress, I will read all of Lord of the Mysteries in a 3-hour stream one day. Merceau's body lay there. I think he should follow Dunn's example and eat the body. Man, we got... You know, I never thought I would say this sentence, but we got a lot of cannibals around here. Marceau's body lay there, his eyes wide open, as if he still had a murderous look in them. That's because we didn't discuss politics, history, geography. That's true. That's a big help, actually. The wound that had severed half his throat was originally thin, but the condensation of his beyond characteristic had expanded it quite a bit, and it had become much more mangled. At the same time, the phenomenon of incontinence, excuse me? Oh, loss of bladder control. I see. I finished the last volume in 4 hours. At the same time, the phenomenon of incontinence after death made his lower body reek of stench. Also, that probably helps too, Justin. Klein held onto the crimson-like jelly object, feeling troubled what to do next. He had 3 general choices. The first was to clean up the scene, deal with the wounds, and report it to the police in the name of legitimate self-defense. The second was to wait deep into the night, throw the corpse into some sewer, and pretend nothing happened. The third was to immediately give up his current identity, flee to another borough, and change his name again. Oh my god, that seems... yeah, but then he'd give up 25 pounds. That'd be stupid. The problem with the first option was that Klein was still an illegal resident with skeletons in the closet. Reporting it to the police would easily lead to discovering a problem. The second option, other than being constantly worried that the corpse would be found and that the police would come knocking, there was another hidden danger. It took me 7 months to read Lord of the Mysteries? Whoa! At my current rate, I imagine I can probably average... let's say 12 chapters for fuck's sake, 12 chapters a day, 5 days a week, 60 chapters a week, times 4, 240 chapters a month. I have, 1,200 chapters left at this point? I'd say 1,200 divided by 240, 5 months. Whoa, perfectly. Yeah. And then I'm sure at points you guys will force me to do longer streams and stuff too. And then, yeah. So it'll just depend. Give or take 5 months from now, so like September I should be done. Yeah, but that also hinges on the fact that I don't get a job between now and September, which I hope is not the case. When the ambassador behind Marceau confirms the disappearance or death of his subordinate, he would definitely send someone else to 15 Minsk Street. When that happens, Klein would be facing a sequence 7 or 6, and he was facing a faction that might very well be a powerful country. The third option might seem to be the wisest and safest, that allowed him to avoid all risks, but there was also a downside, and that was the portrait of Klein was likely to be posted, making him wanted. Furthermore, it would also be a portrait of his undisguised self, which Mrs. Sammer and the lawyer would definitely, and others would describe. Once the wanted notice was published, even if it was limited to the greater Backland area, Klein would eventually be recognized by Daly and other Nighthawks. That would make his problem even worse. I was literally reading it on the way to my exams. As this matter involved Inkzone Quill and Artifact 008, it was highly likely that it would just be pursued by an expert at the level of a high-ranking deacon. Of course, the third option had a separate branch, which was to hide the body and dump the evidence into the sewers and then try to escape. But this was the risk of becoming wanted when the ambassador couldn't find Klein. He could order the members of the Smonger gang to call the police and use official forces to search. And if he could track Klein down, that would be the same as the second. After thinking about it, he came to a decision: divination. Of course, he was inclined towards a particular option already, the lesser of two evils. The first option was relatively less risky. It allowed him to take the initiative to a certain extent. Through exposure, he could attract the attention of official factions and suppress ambassadors' subsequent actions from being too maniacal. He took out a piece of paper and wrote a divination statement, and took out a spirit pendulum. I should make a police report. After repeating it 7 times, he saw the spirit pendulum rotating clockwise with weak amplitude and high frequency. This was indeed a positive response. After divining another 2 choices in turn and obtaining a negative answer from both, Klein no longer hesitated and began to deal with the scene. Sorry, I just got a call on my phone from the fucking UK. I was searching up what area code that was. That was weird. After divining the 2 choices in turn and obtaining a negative answer from both, he no longer hesitated and began to deal with the scene. He put on a pair of black gloves and began to search the corpse. He found a sharp dagger, a small stack of cash, cigarettes, a lighter, and some miscellaneous items. He put the rest of the items back, took off his gloves, held the dagger in hand, and stabbed it into Merceau's throat, destroying its original shape. Then he wore his gloves and let Merceau grab the dagger. After doing all of this, Klein gathered together with Merceau's Beyonder characteristic, the self-made charm, the tarot cards, the contract, and the paper on which the divination was written, and the various materials he could carry around with him and put them in a paper bag. Loyola, how's it going? Hearing Isaac's copper whistle, he felt himself become stronger and more corporeal. He picked up the paper bag, ended the summoning, and returned to the world above the grey fog. He had placed the items from reality behind the fool's high-backed chair for the time being, leaving Isaac's copper whistle as well. Then he relaxed himself and stimulated a descent. The reason why Klein didn't burn the blood-stained contract on the piece of paper on which he had written the divination statement was because he was afraid that the report was sent to the police. Was because he was afraid that after the report was sent to the police, the matter would be transferred to a special department, and a powerful Beyonder would engage in divination. However, the Great Fog's interference, even if EBS was to personally descend, he wouldn't be able to obtain a productive answer. This was the reason why Klein placed his weekly review and summary above the Grey Fog, as his spirituality was greatly enhanced after advancing to Sequence 8. Right now, he couldn't afford to take on more action and deeper investigation. After removing the wall of spirituality, the wind that suddenly stirred blew away the remaining smell of the ritualistic materials. The items related to the domain of mysticism and beyonders that were left on Klein's body and in the entire house were candles that were silently burning. This time he chose ordinary candles. Since he was praying and summoning himself, there was no need to be meticulous. And in a family, having candles was a very normal thing that matched the era, even if he was the only bachelor in the family. After extinguishing the candles and returning them to the original position, Klein took out a small golden pocket watch, snapped it open, estimated the number of minutes since Merceau's death, and added the minimum amount of time it would take to get to the police, to send people to investigate and report back. He wanted to ensure that even if a Beyonder came to investigate, an hour had passed. In mysticism and in the domain of spirit channeling, that was an important time point. Beyond it, the information available was very limited and vague. For example, one could discover that the person who killed Merceau was Sherlock, but couldn't get any specifics of the death. As for whether or not his opponents could divine if Beyonders were involved, Klein wasn't worried at all, because the main factors involved were above the grey fog. Even his premonition and combat ability would also be obscured, as the opponent's divination would definitely point towards the mysterious above the space above the grey fog, and would definitely suffer from interference. Fortunately, I'm also a professional. It feels like I've really become Moriarty. Klein re-examined the scene and making sure there were no problems, and began to walk with his eyes fixed on his pocket watch. After the estimated time, he put on his golden rimmed glasses, waited a few minutes before opening the door, and went out. The sky in backland had already gone dark, and the gas lamps on the street lit up the rain. As the middle-class neighbor, Minsk was often patrolled by the officers. He waited for a while, then spotted the target, went up to meet them. "Officers, a criminal attacked me." The unkempt appearance made two constables place importance on the matter. They each took out their baton and looked warily to the side. "Where's the criminal? He snuck into my house and tried to kill me. In the fight, I accidentally stabbed him to death." Stabbed him to death? The two constables exchanged looks. "Take us there." "All right." Klein looked like he had just survived a disaster as he led the two officers to 15 Minsk Street. The two police constables first drew the chaotic scene before noticing the corpse laying on the ground, with the hideous wound on the deceased's throat, and noticed a bloody dagger. Watch the scene. "I'll return to the station and report to the inspector," another constable said to his round-faced, brown-eyed colleague. Sorry, I'm trying to shorten stuff, but sometimes that doesn't work out. All right, the round-faced, brown-eyed constable cast his gaze at Klein, his face and body language revealing his wariness and caution. No, Moriarty. Maybe I gotta find the English name for it. Moriarty the Patriot. I watched, I think the first season I watched it, which was very good. I guess there's only one season, so yes, I've seen it. Yes, I saw it a while back. It was really good. Why is there no season 2? Interesting. Yes. After a while, a sergeant dressed in black and white checkered uniform and 3 chevron epaulets arrived with the constables from before and 2 other subordinates. The constable investigated the scene while searching for the clues. The sergeant brought Klein to his side and began asking some questions. "Name: Sherlock Moriarty. This is my rental receipt for half a year." Klein had long prepared this. "What's your occupation?" "Private detective." "Do you know the deceased? Do you know why he attacked you?" "I know him. His name is Merceau. He's the executioner of this Monger gang." Klein didn't wait for the sergeant to ask any further questions. "I had previously accepted a job from Ian Wright, who wanted me to investigate a former employer." Is there a season 2? What? Wait, what? Oh, okay. I haven't seen season 2 then. Okay. No, that makes sense, because I originally thought there was 2 seasons, and then when I searched it up on Google it said 1 season. I was like, okay, never mind. I had previously accepted a job from Ian Wright, who asked me to investigate his former employer, Detective Zuriel. This happened to be related to the Monger gang in Merceau. I tailed him and found out he was secretly meeting a gentleman who appeared to be of significant standing. Merceau addressed him as Mr. Ambassador. "Ambassador? Do you know his name?" the sergeant asked. "I don't know, but if I saw a picture, I definitely recognize him. This morning, Merceau came to me and asked me to seek Ian Wright on the basis of my professional ethics as a detective. I refused. When I got home, I was attacked and almost killed by him. Thankfully, I'm still quite skilled at combat and was sufficiently quick to react." I don't know what happened, Nightwalker. The sergeant thought for a moment and asked for details on the fight. Klein recounted the fight from beginning to end, changing the premonition to reaction, then changed the contract a template he had thrown in the fight into a dagger that Merceau had dropped. "Yeah. Follow us back to the police station, wait for the autopsy results. The results of the on-site investigation and inquiries from the relevant parties involved." And the sergeant's thoughts weren't on the case anymore, acting rather perfunctory. Right now, he had only one thought in his mind. That was an important case involving foreign ambassadors. He had to report this immediately. In a daze, he suddenly thought of a question and asked, "What's your faith?" "God of steam and machinery," Klein replied without hesitation. The Backland headquarters of the Church of Lord of Storm was in the Sherwood borough, so cases involving Beyonders often referred to them, with one exception. The people involved had to be the believers of the Lord of Storm. In order not to encounter the Nighthawks, Klein had no choice but to let the goddess down. Interesting. Okay, that was very clever. Good thinking. 2:30. All right. Oh, man. I haven't been sleeping well these past few days. I wake up tired, which isn't normal. He changed his religion without hesitation? Bro, I feel like most of us would if we if it came if there was a chance of us going to prison. So, you know, fuck it. If you're willing to die by your sword for your god, God bless you, dude. You're better. Again, I'm largely like a I don't even know what agnostic, I guess. It's probably the closest thing to what I have. Empress Burrow in an unremarkable house. Zhu and Force took out a seat at random and examined the writing on the blackboard. As always, Mr. A was sitting quietly on the sofa at the front in his hooded robe, looking down at the crowd from a high vantage point. Sheriff Potion, Sequence 8 Potion Sheriff, 450 pounds. Gio read the familiar content as she inwardly let out a sigh of relief. I'll just rewrite it. Klein officer accidentally stabbed him 7 times in his throat and cut his throat, which unexpected... Officer, have you never just, like, walked into the house, there was a dagger you dropped, you tripped on it, but as it turns out, when you tripped on it, you suddenly flung the dagger out, and there was a assassin who was coming to kill you at the same time. So he just, like, the craziest thing. What are the odds, right? Really? Bro left mommy overnight. Okay. I find it funny how Klein, as a former atheist, actually became a believer. Well, in this world, Dr. Z, you can't really call them even, well, I guess Beyonders in particular, you can't call them believers. Belief, by definition, is like, without having proof of a thing, you trust in it. Beyonders have proof that the gods exist because they ask them for shit and they'll help them. Fucking old man Neil would just ask them, "Oh goddess, please pay off my gambling debts." Like, what the fuck? The situation she feared most was the lack of a seller who had finally amassed the money when she had finally amassed the money with great difficulty. I received £400 from the split and my original savings of £150. That's enough. However, I definitely need a huge sum of money for the main ingredients. Well, maybe I can change circles and see if there are Beyonders who are interested in this formula. Shio felt invigorated and suddenly realized she had found a way to make a fortune. Frankly speaking, there was no way she could leak the formula if she wasn't in desperate need for money to buy the materials. On the other hand, most people had always hoped there were fewer Beyonders in their own sequence, and on the other hand, the price of the corresponding ingredients would raise significantly if there were other competition who would bid the price up. It was the same for subsequent potions. After some thought, Gio became nervous again, but because it was normal for a recipe to be placed on sale for a long time without being sold. Moreover, the Arbiter pathway belonged to the royal family and military. All aspects were strictly controlled, and the leaked ones came from a small number of destitute nobles. There were hardly any complete formulas from mid to low sequences. Often, only 1 or 2 of them were complete and compounded with the knowledge that the main ingredients were controlled and hard to obtain. Beyonders who chose the sequence were rare. Gio had been in some mysticism circles in Backland for a while. Terrible, Justin. Every time I try to make a layout, it just looks horrible. I don't know, like yeah, I don't know. Every time I've tried, it just looks horrible. I'm gonna have to figure some stuff out, but I don't know. Yes, but she had found an arbiter except for herself. On the other hand, the others may have concealed it well. But again, it might also explain the problems faced in the sequence pathway. But compared to Fours, I'm lucky enough. She hasn't encountered any subsequent recipes for Apprentice all this time. If it's for the royal family, then how did Geo get it? Again, she said some like destitute nobles and stuff will reveal stuff, so I'm sure she eventually just kind of lucked into it, and there was there was a noble who needed money, and she just had enough to make it work. That'd be my guess. Gio saw Mr. A's attendant approaching and wrote a note saying she was purchasing the sheriff's formula. Before long, she was led to a study on the first floor. Before entering, she took a hooded robe from the attendant and covered herself. This is the formula to the sheriff's potion. Where's my money? The seller asked. Gio pulled out a wad of cash that she had long counted numerous times and pushed it to the seller. After checking the authenticity of the notes and the total sum, the seller agreed to release the potion formula. Gio immediately took a step forward and grabbed the note. Her eyes swept straight to the main ingredients: a pair of terror demon worm eyes, silver warbear right palm. Beyond her ingredients I know of, but I've never seen them being sold. God damn it. Back in the living room, she sat beside Forrest. Having fulfilled her wish, she slowly began to worry about the unknown honorary name and evil spirit that might be haunting her. 10, 20, no, 30, to request someone skillful in exorcism to do a purification ritual. She made up her mind. At the end of the free communication break, she saw her request appear on the additional entry. Suspected haunting of evil spirits, requesting the help of friends who specialized in exorcism. £30. After a while, Mr. A's attendant came to the two of them and quietly invited them to the living room on the first floor. There was a gentleman in a white mask. He looked at the two people wearing loose robes that concealed their genders. Let me introduce myself so you won't doubt my ability. No, we trust Mr. A, Gio, with her hood-covered face said. She deliberately suppressed her voice to prevent her childish voice from revealing her true identity. My God, what a... I have to hide my voice because I sound like a baby child. I sound like a itty-bitty child. This is my habit. I am a believer of the sun. As you know, this is not common in Backland or the entire kingdom. It is only through moments like this that I can reveal my true identity. Due to the great conflicts between the Church of EBS and the Lord of Storm, the former had never been able to obtain the right to proselytize in the Lone Kingdom. Proselytize. A believer of the sun? This is the first time I'm seeing a living believer of the sun. It's not like I can meet diplomats of higher standing. Then should I feel honored? Forrest smiled and said, in terms of exorcism and purification, the attendant of the sun is a professional. Our hearts are at rest, so we can begin. I mean, didn't EBS almost straight up fucking murk a Klein? So I mean, hey, if you like him, all the best for you, Dr. Z. But EBS almost nuked our main character. The man who claimed to be a believer didn't drone on. He took out a badge with this symbol of the sun on it and placed it on the table in the center, and he used a dualistic ritual method to light up the two candles. I hate the storm. Well, they are very sexist, so I'm not a huge fan either. But again, their symbol is very dope. The sun that is eternal, you are the inextinguishable light. You are the embodiment of order. I pray to you. Please bestow me with your cleansing glow. Please repel the evil spirits in this body. Amid the echoing Hermes incantation, Gio and Forrest saw the bright light burst out from the sun's emblem. Bursting in a pure, warm manner, it was endless like the tide, as a light surged towards the two of them, engulfing them simultaneously. Nearly a minute later, everything was restored to normal. Just wait till Volume 6. That'll be a long time from now. Volume 6 is probably going to be like, I don't know, chapter a fucking 1,000 or some shit. Oh my god. Oh. Sherwood Borough, Rice Police Station. Rice police station. Klein was sitting on the low bench with a group of thieves and drunkards. It looked very disgraceful. Suddenly, he felt warmth on the back of his hand. Sorry, actually, on that point. Yeah, Justin, I'll try to send more overlays in Discord. I gotta figure out something that doesn't look horrible. Klein was sitting on a low bench with a group of thieves and drunkards. It looked very disgraceful. Suddenly he felt the warmth on the back of his hand. On the coldness of the backland night was dispelled quite significantly. Lowering his head, Klein realized that the 4 black dots representing the space didn't appear. Who's being so kind? To know that I was feeling just a little cold right now. As a former inspector, he looked at the thief on the left who was handcuffed to the pipe, then the drunkard on the right who could vomit at any moment but kept yelling about hitting people. He sighed about his current predicament and wasn't sure if he would be free of this. There should be another test after this, and I'll be fine once I pass it. I hope the police will have their attention on the ambassador and his monger gang, and ignore my origins as a puny detective. In theory, there's a high chance. As long as Mrs. Sammer and Mr. Jurgen and the others don't say much of interest to the police, they've only met me much, so it's impossible for them to know much. Maybe Justin, but I also hate his guts, so I don't know. I know, it doesn't look good, I will say, but I've heard Volume 2 is quite long. I don't know when it ends or anything, but it's quite long, which makes me think it's going to end somewhere in like late 400s, early 500s, something like that. That's terrifying to think about, my god. But hey, in fairness, I remember not too long ago I just got to chapter 100, and we're almost nearing 300 at this point, so not too far. Like, Easy just entered 400, I think, yesterday or 2 days ago or something. And I'll be at 300 probably within a week's time, hopefully. Merceau's Beyonder characteristic was taken by me and was hidden above the grey fog, but he didn't leave anything strange, so no one would be able to discover that he used to be a Beyonder and have many questions. More than an hour has passed. I finished Lord of the... in his self-encouragement, Klein saw the officer with the short brownish hair walking towards him. Sherlock, come with us to the investigation room. Or interrogation room. Here it comes. After going around the corner, the sergeant stopped in front of an iron door and gestured for Klein to enter. He took a deep breath before exhaling. He yanked the handle and opened the door. There was a small room with thick walls and a small table in the middle. There were chairs on both sides of the table. Under the elegant gas lamp's illumination, where was I? Under the elegant gas lamp's illumination, Klein identified the interrogator as the man who wore a black shirt, as a man who wore a black shirt, a rather uncommon sight. He did wear a vest, but wore a black coat that wasn't part of his usual attire. He had thin eyebrows and a cold blue eyes. His face was cut, looking rigid and lacking any gentleness. The man pointed at the chair opposite to him. I ask, you answer. Before he finished his sentence, Klein felt an unimaginable suppressive force on him. Oh, that reminds me. Not everyone is here, but something I wanted to mention. So I mentioned this when Easy and I were talking, but I'll mention this again. So there's a good chance that in the next little bit I'll have to take a bit of a hiatus, like a week and a half, 2 weeks. My grandpa isn't doing too well, and If something happens, I'll take some time. I need to take some time off. So yeah, I don't know what that looks like, but I'll keep you guys in touch. It'll be about 2 weeks if that, God forbid, does happen. And then we'll play it by ear. If I get a bit of a heads up, what I'll try to record like a bunch of 5-chapter sequences and then record them occasionally, and then rather post them occasionally. So like do like try to read like 20 chapters or whatever, but because if I have to go, it'll be like a relatively quick thing, like, oh, I find out today and I gotta leave tomorrow or whatever. But I'll try to read like 20 chapters and then release like for 4 days 5 chapters, maybe split it out like over a couple of days, so that there's still content, and then that way, and then when I come back, we'll get back to reading. Thank you guys, I appreciate it. Yeah, I hope he'll be okay, but yeah, we'll just have to see. Before he finished his sentence, Klein felt an unimaginable suppressive force on him. He felt that an electric current was tearing through his mind and body that lashed his soul with a barbed wire. This feeling was painful and numbing. It was as though it stemmed from deep within his brain. It was barely resistible, and all he could do was tremble and have his knees buckle. This is a beyonder power. Ordinary people might have thought this is a psychological problem caused by nervousness. But Klein clearly identified this was a beyonder power that could clearly directly attack the mind of others. He quickly recalled the information. Arbiter Pathway Sequence 7, Interrogator. Let's go. That is dope as fuck. You ask a question and then you're like a lie detector test. You zap them with electricity. You go, listen, bitch. You either answer or you die. As long as it isn't the Nighthawks, everything's fine. Identify the ambassador who met Merceau from these photographs. The cold and unyielding man in black spread out 8 black and white photographs. Klein felt as if the electric whip in his mind was being lifted a little, and the extreme pain made it so he didn't dare to lie. Of course, there was no need for Klein to lie. After a moment of identification, he pushed a photo in the direction of an interrogator, a middle-aged gentleman who wore ostentatious clothing and looked charming. Exactly, a type of evidence that won't leave any evidence. A type of torture that won't leave any evidence. Yeah, just, dude, you were just nervous. I don't know what was happening. Were your previous statements the truth? Nothing but the truth. Klein felt as though he was being forced into a dream, but kept his mind clear and rational. When was the last time you met Ian Wright? I tailed yesterday morning. I tailed Merceau and found the body of Detective Zuriel. As I didn't want to deal with the police, I took Ian to identify the body and told him to deal with it. Zuriel's body was located at the sewer entrance at the bottom of the Iron Carbon Street in East Borough. After a brief silence, the interrogator nodded and Klein felt the enormous pressure disappear along with a whip in his mind. You may now leave. Klein stood up and entered and opened the door, not masking the frailty in his gait. He found it more tiring than fighting Merceau. If he had made the slightest mistake, his spirit would have been crushed, and he obediently answered questions that the other party asked. If it wasn't for the fact that my spirit is special and has now been subjugated to the test of raving and screaming for a long period of time, I would have most likely just had a mental breakdown. Come with me to fill out some forms. Lawyer Jurgen is wanting to bail you out. Oh, thank God. Klein secretly exhaled and completely relaxed. He knew the danger was over. Okay. 2:31. Alright, give me 2 seconds, guys. I'm just gonna run to the restroom. Alright, at this rate, we'll be done in 2 hours today instead of 3. That is a huge improvement. I mean, again, we didn't talk much today. This was mostly just reading. But, that was crazy. That was incredibly efficient. What the hell? Why did no one tell me the dumpling skirts were so good? I don't know, man. No one's exactly been keeping it a secret. What the fuck? I know, Nightwalker. Holy shit. It's going so great today. We're chilling. We're running through shit so fast. Milos and Romero have been holding the community back. This space is amazing. Look how much better it is when Milos isn't here to glaze forwards and Romero isn't glazing the true creator. Holy shit, you're right. That was the problem. It wasn't the fact that we would get off into 40-minute tangents in history and politics and bullshit. No, it was them, of course. Klein met Jürgen Cooper in an office at the Rice police station. This young senior solicitor was dressed formally as though he had just come ready to go to a posh dinner party. I cast you to the shadow. He wore a black double-breasted attire, a white shirt, and a stiff collar. The formalities are over. You can leave if you can pay the bail of £10. Klein didn't say anything more. He fished out of his wallet 2 5-pound notes. He was grateful that he had all this cash on him, £95. Or he might have had to borrow from his good neighbor. Of course, the worst-case scenario would be if he had left the money at home. Klein wasn't certain how much of it would be left after the police searched the scene. Yet, he couldn't place it in the world above the grey fog, because it was possible he would need it to offer bribes. At present, the newspapers and magazines were discrediting the police as being unsupervised, violent, corrupt, extortionary, and vicious. Klein didn't believe it fully, but he didn't dare doubt it either. After all, Merceau's money could very well end up in the pockets of someone in the police station. After paying the bail, Klein followed Jürgen out of the police station and shivered when the cold hit him. After the case is closed, your bail will be returned to you. Of course, you can't expect them to voluntarily notify you. Yeah, and if in a week no one notifies you that your presence is required, you can come back and ask for your bail to be returned. In theory, you could still get appropriate compensation, if any, from the other party's estate. The rain that had poured down during the day had finally come to a stop, and the crimson moon remained hidden. Alright, Klein almost believed that he would have to part with the £10 forever. He couldn't help but calculate how much it cost him to take up Ian's job. He had been paid £5, but many pieces of furniture, tea sets were destroyed at home. He either had to buy new ones or get someone to repair them. With the materials he used, cost of the carriage, and the cost of mending clothes, he simply lost money. If I don't manage to get back the £10 worth of bill money, it would be a great loss. Well, the Beyonder characteristic left behind by Merceau is actually worth quite a bit of money. Well, I guess true, but he had to figure out which sequence it's for, and then he can sell it, right? He had always thought that private detectives who use their own residence as his office would at most be entrusted with anything that wouldn't suffer losses, but in the end, he'd always thought that we'd use Klein returned to his house, turned his head to look at Jürgen, who was sitting upright. Thank you for coming to bail me out. How much should I pay you? This one's pro bono. I heard from Sergeant Faxine that you were involved in an incident. I believe that we'll have many opportunities to work together in the future. Many opportunities in the future? Are you cursing me, Lawyer Jurgen? No, it's not what you think. It's very common for private detectives to have a fixed lawyer they work with. Sir, you sure lack a sense of humor. Coincidentally, I'm in need of a lawyer to help me draw up a investment contract. Investment contract? This isn't part of my work as a private detective. I just happened to chance upon a good investment opportunity. How much would a contract cost according to your usual fees? Generally, it's based on the total amount of the contract and the level of ease. This one's is £100 and the terms are needed. Client described in detail, including a preemptive right, veto rights, so on. £2. I'll give it to you Monday morning. All right. Client said no more regarding the matter, but instead began to ask about the case. Interesting. All right. On his way back to Minsk Street, Klein took the initiative to pay for the carriage. After bidding farewell to the young but serious lawyer, he walked back to his house. He opened the door and saw a messy scene, and his heart winced. He never expected that he would start his detective business off with a loss. Just as Klein took off his coat and began to clean up the mess, a doorbell rang. He opened the door in puzzlement and saw Julianne, the maid from next door in black and white. "Good evening, Mr. Moriarty. Mr. and Mrs. Sammer sent me over to wish to discuss something with you," she said in a tone that hid fear. "Here it comes, the problem regarding compensation. All right." He changed into a clean coat and followed the maidservant next door, Luke Sammer and his wife. Stellan Sammer were sitting on the sofa in the living room. Wait. Have we never met Jurgen before? Because I feel like that name sounds familiar. I feel like I've read it before. Hypothetically speaking. What happened? Oh, grandmother's cat. Thank you. Everything okay, Dr. Z? Sorry, I'm just catching the tail end of this conversation, and I feel like I missed something. He changed into a clean coat and followed the servant out the door. The stout Luke, with a pencil-thin mustache, stood up and extended his hand. "Good evening, Mr. Moriarty. I only learned that you were a private detective. That's quite unbecoming as a neighbor." No, it's my fault. I didn't know if I was suited for this career and might find other jobs at any moment. I'm very sorry about what happened. I'll compensate you. It's just an accident." The blonde, blue-eyed, and pretty Stellan asked out of curiosity, "Did you really kill the Beyonder? Or sorry, did you really kill the intruder? You must want the black tea, right?" "Yes." Klein nodded. No, but no other option, bad guys. When he picked up, I don't think he realized he'd be picking up so many. What is happening? Alright, Dr. Z. I don't know exactly what the situation is. I think I get like rough pieces. All I will say is, hold on. I'll see if I can find the quote. Hold on. I live my life. You know how Beyonders live their careers based on maxims? I live my life based on a lot of quotes that I've found over time. And hold on. I'm saying that people be crashing out in your chat all the time. That they do, but it's all good. Mostly. I found a lot of quotes that I like to live by. I don't always All right, we're making really good time today, so I can we can spare some time for some philosophy stuff. Oh my God, would one of you load in good fucking? Why is this all loading in dog shit? This is all loading in like 280p. What is happening here? Oh, thank you. It says a quote. I think of it like a maxim if it helps you. But honesty without compassion is cruelty, and kindness without honesty is manipulation. So be kind. Be kind. Try not to come off too harsh. But honesty is important. If you're just hiding stuff or not saying stuff to be kind, it doesn't work either. You gotta find a good balance. This one I've always found is good. Again, I don't know too much about the situation, so it may not directly apply, but hope that was a little helpful. Perhaps he was just a thief. He didn't mention that a problem stemmed due to one of his jobs in order to prevent Sammer from having any unpleasant feelings. Since the police didn't inform them, there's no need to do anything unnecessary, he added. Luke Sammer laughed and said, "You must possess excellent combat skills. As a neighbor, I feel very safe. Perhaps we will entrust matters to you in the future." Well, actually, I was almost killed. Regardless, you were the ultimate victor, Luke said. I was very curious how many commissions private detectives receive a week and how much they can earn. Klein didn't try to hide anything as he laughed. It depends on the situation. Just like there are good and bad harvests in farms, I earned 5 pounds at 5 soli last week, but last night's incident I might have suffered a loss. If she didn't hear the latter half of his words, she continued, "If you can maintain this income, you'll get a pretty good life in Cherwood district. At 5 pounds a week, there's no need to sublet another room. You can hire a maid to do odd jobs, listen to the symphony every other week, go to the theatrical opera once a week. You can play tennis or squash, join a reading saloon, and go to a nice restaurant. Of course, if you're still preparing for marriage, you still need to save money. A weekly salary of 5 pounds is still a little short of being truly decent." Dude, Justin, her husband is in the chair beside her. Then what is the required weekly salary to be decent? Klein asked. 7 pounds at least. Klein turned to Luke and said, "I heard from your wife that you work at Coim. I'm not sure I know what its main business is." Anthracite and charcoal. Even better, yeah. Alright. I'm not sure Mr. Luke here would be quite as good being cuckolded in his own house. It's no wonder you became a member of the Suit Reduction Association. In Backland, how big of a salary does a manager receive? It depends on the industry, as well as the job scope. Backland's best manager earns £5,000 a year, but for me it's like $430, $440, including bonuses. He's already in a chair. Yeah, what's that joke? It's like Luke Sammer is the reason that there are chairs in bedroom and hotel bedrooms. Good lord, I just butchered that. Hold on. Luke Sammer is the reason there are chairs in hotel bedrooms. There we go. We got there. Good lord. That's about 8 pounds a week. No wonder. Actually, we could have lived in the suburbs, and I'll have a garden and lawn. Luke would then be able to have a stable and buy a carriage and 2 foals that he's been eyeing all this time. But it would waste too much time on his commute to work. That would be even more valuable. A new carriage, including horses, costs like £100. 8 pounds a week is impressive, but it hasn't been long since I had a pay raise. Klein could only smile in response. After exchanging a few more pleasantries, he bade farewell. Mr. and Mrs. Sammer are still considered nice. If I had a mean landlord, I would have had my deposit deducted and refunded and been told to get lost after what happened. In fairness, Justin made the joke and then I made the cuckold joke, so I think I partly need to be purified too, but at that point we're just two peas in a pod, so fuck it, right? After returning home, Klein began laboring. He wasn't in a hurry to go above the grey fog to examine the current situation, the warm current on the back of his hand, nor was he in a hurry to do a divination because he was afraid that the military special department was still keeping tabs on him. He decided to go to a bar which Ian had described tomorrow night to buy a gun so as to deal with people who might assault him recklessly. Dude, by the time Klein leaves this apartment is going to have a body count of like 50. Like 50 people are going to have died before he left here. This is crazy. He's like, yes, Mr. and Mrs. Sammer, you may like me now, but boy, I am gonna commit so many murders here. Well, not murder, but like justified killings in self-defense here. Whatever. Klein even planned to find means to hire a bodyguard, a powerful Beyonder bodyguard. This was so that, first, he could take advantage of the opportunity to contact Beyonder circles without exposing himself, and second, because he was afraid that the ambassador's next assailant would have the ability to hide from military special department. Although it was a slightly comical thing for a Sequence 8 Beyonder, a vengeful spirit in hiding, to need a bodyguard as safety was somewhat of paramount importance to him. If the price is too high, I'll blow the copper whistle for Azek, which of course might be even more dangerous. I don't know much about 008. After cleaning up the house, Klein suddenly silently muttered. Okay, next chapter is definitely going to be the last one. My words are starting to run out. After the purification oh, hold on. There's boss music playing. Hold on. After the purification ceremony ended, the man in the white mask said to Gio and Forrest, no matter what kind of spirit it is, it has already been exorcised. If it has reached the level of an evil spirit I am unable to exorcise, it should have given a response, but there was none. As he spoke, he poured the water, which had condensed on the emblem, onto a small metal bottle and handed it to Gio. Sprinkle it into your room to ward off any remnants. Thank you. Gio paid him while feeling the pinch, but felt a lot more relaxed. Moments after she returned to the living room, the attendant delivered a note. Miss Arbiter, who has just bought the sheriff potion, would you mind having a chat in the study? I might have what you need. Interesting. That's weird. This is going to be a longer chapter again, and then we're good. Yeah, look at that. We'll be done in, nice. Yes, Amnesiac. We're on the last chapter. Damn, at this rate, I might do another 7 chapters at night. Or I might just do 8 and get to 240. That'd be great. Dude, if I can make this level of progress, we'd be averaging like 15 chapters a day. And at that point, we're chilling. 300 chapters a month? Oh, that'd be like, meaning if I had to leave in like 2 weeks, I might be caught up with Easy, and then I could leave, and then when I come back I'd have to do a little bit of catching up again, but then we'd be good. Oh man, that could work out. This is dope. Man, you know what? Maybe you guys are right. If Milos and Ramiro aren't here, we get so much more done. What the fuck? Wait, hold on. How kind of Gio Warming climb on such a cold night? She's half as good at Audrey and always. Wait, my height joke just came up. No, I got it. Who? How did that person know I just bought the sheriff potion? Her green eyes contracted as she surveyed the surroundings in astonishment, but didn't see anyone suspiciously watching her. According to Mr. A, the transaction here should be safe and confidential. She couldn't help but look at the single sofa where Mr. Ace sat, whose face was covered by a hood. He was still quietly sizing up people without revealing anything odd. Should I go? She nudged Fours with her elbow. Fours took out a piece of paper, glanced at it, and replied without hesitation. Go. At least you still have Mr. A watching. No one would dare do anything to you. You can take the opportunity to find out what their goals are. Who knows? You might actually obtain the potion materials you want as a result. That makes sense. Gio, who's a proactive person, immediately nodded. This hood can cover my entire face, so much that I can't see the path in front of me. Having worn the hood, Gio opened the door and saw the man dressed in a tuxedo sitting behind a desk. The man wore a golden mask that revealed his eyes, nostrils, mouth, and cheeks, but it was impossible to identify him. Have a seat, the man said. His voice was deliberately hoarse, otherwise there was nothing special about it. Gio sat down and asked, Do you have the main ingredient to the sheriff potion? The man chuckled. Yes, I have the eyes of Terror Demon Worm and the right palm of a silver warbear. The masked man, yes. In fact, I have the sheriff potion formula you bought. In fact, the sheriff potion formula you bought was sold on my behalf. No wonder. Gio was often mocked as a brainless person by her good friends, but to survive in the backland circles of, Beyonders, in the gangs of East Borough and among the poor, she wasn't a completely reckless person. She had the intuition. She had the intuition for danger that was akin to a wild beast. Hold on. Sorry, my brother was texting me, so reading and typing, even for me, is like nightmarishly difficult. Why are you doing this? To select suitable helpers. With your financial situation, it will be difficult for you to gather the money needed for these ingredients in a short time. Of course, you can sell the formula at another gathering, but please, believe me, that will bring you unnecessary dangers. Our circles may not overlap, but I'm not the only person. Hold on. Yeah, but why is she saying, why are you doing this? You don't know what he's even doing yet. Gio frowned and said, since you have such a massive organization and possess the formula to sheriff and arbiter, why do you need my help? There are certain matters we do not wish to deal with ourselves. There are many reasons, and there's no need for me to tell you that. Every arbiter embarks on the journey as a beyonder by themselves, more or less. Some connection with the aristocracy is something we need. It seems like he doesn't know about my origins, nor is he aware of my reputation. Audrey is now the smartest person in this group. I still wouldn't say smart. I would say smarter than Gio. Probably dumber than Fours. She just comes off as someone who knows a lot. I don't know if that's true or not, but it seems like... But she just comes off as a person who knows a lot, so I don't know. Ramiro, you have come, and there is half a chapter left. We're on 232. Hanged Man is obviously smarter, of course, yeah. I shall no longer hear any Audrey slander. Alright. The masked man continued, just treat it as additional missions beyond the Beyonder gatherings. I will give you some missions and pay you with the corresponding rewards. If you feel that's dangerous, you can reject them. That's a fair and free trade. Once you save up enough money, you can purchase the ingredients from me. This. As long as I have the right to reject missions, I can consider it. No problem. We can agree on where and how to meet in the future. To make you feel at ease, we'll concede the right to decide the details to you. Forrest doesn't really care about anything as long as her emotions are at ease. Alright, although Gio was baffled and didn't understand why the other party was still offering her missions, she still agreed. At the very least, she couldn't identify any obvious dangers. Klein busied himself with buying chairs, tea sets, mending clothes the whole of Sunday. He spent £6 9 solai to restore the living room and the dining room table, and himself to their original state. Wait, hold on. Doesn't he have he has 80 pounds left, 80 or 90 pounds left. That's it, right? Because the 100 pounds he's investing, so he doesn't have access to that anymore. He just has no more money. Fuck. What a loss. I hope that the police department compensates me for my losses from Merceau's estate. The chances are slim at best. Just a portion. Of course, in terms of income alone, he had made quite a killing. Merceau's Beyonder characteristic was worth at least £300 or more. This premise was all. The premise of all of this was that Klein had access to a circle of Beyonders. After dinner, he, dressed in a turtleneck sweater, a solid-colored sweater, a grayish-blue worker's coat, and a cap, Klein went out once again, making 2 transfers before arriving at the Iron Gate Street at the area of Backlunge. In the area of the Backland Bridge, good lord. He saw Braveheart Bar, and after taking a few steps, he saw a seemingly heavy wooden door and a nearly 2-meter-tall brawny man with his arms folded. The brawny man sized up Klein but didn't stop him from pushing the door, but his throat moved when he heard the cheers inside. Kami, how's it going, man? He still has £100 in the bank. Yeah, like he still has it, but he's investing it, right? So he doesn't really have access to it anymore. This was when the bar was experiencing its peak business. Before Klein had entered, he felt a heat wave engulf him. He could smell the strong aroma of malt beer and hear a din. What's a din? I have no idea. Unsurprisingly, or maybe it's a mistranslation again. Unsurprisingly, he saw 2 stages in the middle of a bar. One of them was having a rat baiting with dogs competition, Jesus Christ, while the other had 2 boxers patiently waiting for the fight to begin. The aroma of alcohol mixed with the smell of wheat emanated. Klein lifted his gold-rimmed glasses and pinched his nose. While protecting his belongings, he squeezed his way to the bar counter. 1 glass of Southville beer. That was the best beer that the Lone Kingdom produced. 5 pence. I've won $10 playing cards at a funeral? Alright, I mean, $10 is $10, but Klein took out a handful of coins and counted out 5 pence before handing them in exchange for a wooden large cup. The aroma of the beer was alluring. In front of it, many beers can't even be called alcoholic and can only be considered beverages, the bartender chuckled. Klein lifted his cup and took a swig. It was cool and refreshing. It's a tradition to play cards at funeral? Interesting. He used that $10 on Wuthering Waves. First bitter and fragrant, but later the flavor of malt burst out. It had slightly sweet taste after. I already did. After putting down the cup, he looked at the tiny white bubbles and took the opportunity to ask, "Where's Casper's Callanan?" "Billiard room 3. In spirit of not wasting any time, he carried the cup and walked to the 3rd billiard room. With a light tap, he allowed the door to creak open. "I'm looking for Casper's Callanan. Old geezer introduced me." After hearing this, the 50-year-old man with a big nose said, "Come in." I got the Lunite subscription? I don't know what that is. He had a huge twisted scar running from the corner of his right eye to the side of his mouth, and his nose was a typical brandy nose, one that was completely red. Klein slowly walked in with a cup in his hand and saw Casper's billiard opponent had put beside him a cue stick that looked like clockwork. "What do you want?" "A powerful custom revolver and 50 rounds. £3, 10 soli. Casper's gave the price. Definitely more expensive than the regular weapons store, but that includes the price the risks I undertake." "Deal." He took out 5 £1 notes he prepared from his trousers and counted them. "You're more straightforward than you look. Give me 5 minutes." He put the notes on the billiard table, leaned against the crutch, and limped to the door. "Here it's a tradition for people to stay awake the whole night of a funeral, so cards and stuff are oh, I see. Okay. After watching Casper's leave, Klein glanced back at the current trendy billiard and found it to be very similar to the snookers on Earth. It must be you, Emperor Zell. After a short wait, Casper pushed the door open, carrying a package wrapped in brown paper and 2 5 solai notes. Klein took the money and the item and opened it on the spot. His eyes caught the long, silvery barrel of a revolver. The grip seemed to be made out of walnut wood. In addition to that, there were 50 glistening rounds in a neatly placed box. Klein emptied the gun, loaded 5 rounds, stuffed the revolver into his armpit holster he had bought some time back. He gathered up the rest of the bullets and looked up at Casper. If I wish to hire a good bodyguard, who'd I look for? A very good one. The kind that exceeds human limits. Casper's rubbed his nose and his eyes turned cold. He carefully examined Klein for about 2 minutes. I can make the query for you, but there's no guarantee someone will accept. He seems to know more than one beyonder. No matter what the result is, please allow me to express my gratitude in advance. Caspers put away the bill and on the billiard table and walked out again. It was a full 10 minutes before he returned to the room, and by then, Klein had already finished his huge cup of Southville beer out of boredom. He wants to meet you before making a decision. No problem. I would also determine the difficulty of the mission if it was me. He followed Caspers, who had hobbled past the crowded boxing ring into the kitchen of the bar. Casper suddenly stopped and lightly tapped on the door. After gaining permission, he pushed it open and entered with Klein in tow. It was a card room where more than 10 people were playing Texas poker. A man wore a black vest and a white shirt, slowly stood up and looked after seeing Caspers and Klein enter the room. The man who was playing cards stopped in their tracks and didn't make a sound. Does alcoholic beer taste from... I've never had non-alcoholic beer, so I can't say, Dr. Z. I would presume they would taste very similar, if not the same. But the stream is really laggy. I didn't even notice, Kami. Sorry, but it seems like it's just a you problem. I would imagine it tastes very similar, but the problem is no one, unless you're like damn near an alcoholic, no one has alcohol because it tastes good. And I will fight. I've fought with people on this, okay, and I will die on this hill. No one has alcohol because it tastes good, okay? Even if you're one of those like pretentious pricks who's like, oh, I only drink neat or whatever, dude, I don't know why, okay? Alcohol sucks. Yes, I know alcohol isn't allowed in Islam, yeah. Like, I don't know, like, people who do that just suck, okay? Because it, like, you drink alcohol because of what it does to you, okay? Like it loosens you up, it you know, it alleviates a little bit of stress, you feel better, you feel a little loose. That's what you have it for. You don't have it because, oh, yummy. Like, it tastes horrible. What the fuck? Oh, why would anyone drink non-alcoholic? Oh, I see. Oh, I see, doctor. Sorry. Apart from the man that stood up, he noticed all the players had an indescribable sense of strangeness to them. Their faces were pale and their eyes were like those of wild beasts. Tapping his molar twice, he activated his vision. His muscles tensed up and he couldn't control his expressions because the auras of them were dark black. That meant that apart from the person who stood up, the people playing cards were all dead. They weren't just dead, they were all zombies. The feeling of rotting came over him, and the man in the white shirt and black vest walked in front of Klein. His face was equally pale and there seemed to be deep malice in his eyes. Even vodka tastes like dog shit, dude. It just tastes like I'm drinking pure acid. And it's not like because you have cheap vodka or whatever. It's just not the case. It just sucks. I drink, don't get me wrong, but it sure as shit ain't because I find it yummy. Alright, look at that. We made, I think 2 hours, damn near 2 hours, 20 minutes, and the first 10 minutes was like fucking around playing Connections and Wordle and stuff. 2 hours, 7 chapters. That was good as shit. I don't care about taste. I just want to be high. I think you mean drunk, but yes, I totally agreed. Yeah. Yeah. All right. Thank you so much, everyone, for yet another great stream. We'll have another one in like 10 hours. I'll give you a heads up. And why drinking? Yeah. I live in the city Razi lived in. He was the first person to extract concentrated alcohol. And what? That's wild. Small amounts of vodka can get you drunk. Let's be clear, Ramiro. Small amounts of vodka can get you drunk. Okay? If just because you don't have a tolerance doesn't mean the rest of us don't. Haha, bitch. I'm just kidding. All right, yeah. Thanks everyone for a great stream. Another one in like 10 hours. Holy shit, this is my fucking life now. Yeah. If you guys get a chance, let me know how you like to chat with Easy that he posted on his channel. We'll do another one later. We'll do one once I'm a little bit closer to where he is. I'm 18. Yeah, but what time do you? When did you start drinking, Romero? Like I'm 22, and I started drinking 16, I think. Yeah. So I don't know. Yeah, that's it. 12. Okay, fair enough. All right, yeah, I think we'll end it there. Thanks, everyone. If you get a chance, let me know how you like to chat with Easy and like stuff we could do differently and stuff for next stream, and then we can go from there. Easy and I will do another one. I think the plan is to do it a little bit later once I'm closer to where he is, and then we'll go from there. All right, bye everyone. Love you guys. Yeah, it was fun, Ramiro, for the 7 minutes you were here.